first coat, get a light, even coat, and don't worry about complete coverage. I start spraying with the can further away from the wheel, and then I move in closer until I find the sweet spot where the paint gets evenly applied to the wheel. Just like that. So now our first light coat looks awesome. Now remember to put the can back in the warm water while we wait 2 to 3 minutes between coats. 3 minutes later, let's do our second coat. On the second coat, we want to make sure that we cover all the wheels with primer. And make sure you spray at different angles to get complete coverage. You don't want to see any bare metal at the end of this coat. And one thing I like to do is go around the whole outside of the rim to make sure you get coverage between the note card and the rim. And now you just have to wait another 2 minutes, and we can spray the final coat of primer. Alright, on to the final coat of primer. Now's a good time to put your colored spray paint in the warm water and let it heat up. With this last coat, I'm going to slow down the motion of my arm a little bit, which will make this last coat just slightly thicker, and this will help with the orange feel. You don't want it too thick though, because then you'll get paint that runs, and that won't be good. So just finish up this last coat so there's an even and full coverage. And it's that simple. All 3 coats of primer are on, and if you're curious, I used about 1/3 of the can, so you can easily do 2 to 3 wheels with 1 can, and that's doing 3 coats each. And to get a close-up, you can see how good this came out. The finish looks nice and smooth. And now we have about 10 minutes for the primer to be ready for our black coat. One thing I want to mention, when you take the spray paint out of the water, make sure you wipe it down good so none of the water drips onto the wheel as you're painting. Now with the color, you're going to do the exact same process we just did with the primer. Spray a light, even first coat, and don't worry about covering up all the gray. Make sure you stop and start spraying with the nozzle pointed away from the surface you're painting. Just like that. After our first coat, we wait 3 minutes and let it dry. 3 minutes later, we can hit it with a second coat. Make sure you cover up all the gray primer with this coat, and spray at different angles along the wheel. Now we're done with the second coat, so let's give it 3 minutes and start our third coat. Alright, we're on our final coat. For the final coat, I'm slowing down my arm just a little bit so that we can get a slightly thicker coat, just like we did for our third coat of primer. And again, I'll spray the rim at different angles to get complete coverage. And we are done. If you want, you can put a layer of clear coat on here for a glossy finish, but this black paint I used has a glossy finish without clear coat, so it saves us a step. By the way, I highly recommend this paint. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can get it. I used it to undercoat my truck, and I use it for painting all my suspension parts. It's durable, and it's just so easy to spray to make it look good. Now the last thing you want to do is you want to remember to pull the cards off so they don't get stuck or peel the paint when the paint dries. And don't forget about the glove tip covering the valve stem. Now this looks amazing. It has a great deep shine to it. The paint is smooth, and I'm really happy with it. Now all we have to do is let it dry for 2 hours, and we can put it on the car. It's going to be a long 2 hours. Check this out. This looks so much better than before, and to make it even better, I have this small chrome center cap, which is going to complete the look.
Is that illegal?
Check out the before and the after. Look at that difference. Now you can see at the bottom here, and also the side here, we have some overspray. All you have to do to get that overspray off is using a abrasive sponge. Because we use that tire shine, it comes right off. The paint job for these wheels came out awesome, and now you know how to paint your wheels so it comes out looking great. Hopefully the video was helpful, and if you try this on your own wheels, take a before and after pic and send it to me or tag me in it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I definitely want to see your painted wheels, and maybe I'll even feature it in a future video. Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and we are back with episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor, where we wire together all our police lights. We have front visor lights, we have a rear traffic advisor, we have a LED light bar, we have little LEDs, and we have a dash cam, plus miles and miles of wire. I cannot wait to get this all in there and see this thing light up. Depending on the laws in your area, you might or might not be able to wire it light. to your vehicle. If you're a first responder, you might be able to run red and blues, you might be able to run just blues, or you might be able to run orange lights. It all depends on your local law. If you're not a first responder, police officer, first aid, firefighter, this video is still going to show you how to wire stuff properly, and just the process of building a police car, all the little intricacies that it has, the little features that the P71 has, and it's just kind of a unique build, like whoever gets to build a police car. Not many people, so it's pretty sweet. Now that being said, we had the permits for the state that this car is going to be used in. Now listen closely. This car specifically is being used by a police officer to go to and from work. He lives 2 hours away from where he works. He encounters many traffic accidents and many officer assists where he pretty much sees a police officer on the side of the road that needs help. That is why this car is being made. So he's always the first one there at an accident, or he's always assisting officers. He was almost hit once because his daily driver doesn't have lights on it. It's not going to be used to pull people over, whatever you guys are fantasizing about. It's strictly going to be used for assisting in accidents and assisting officers on his way to work. I think I made that pretty clear, so let's get to the fun stuff. Oh, by the way, check this out. How good do those wheels look? I need to clean up the tires and make them look black, but those rims are looking gorgeous on this car. And I'm going to have a video all on how to paint your rims. I'm going to be painting them black. This is what they used to look like. They have these cheap hubcaps. I don't really like the look on those, and neither did the officer. So we're changing it up. Underneath those hubcaps are these disgusting rims. And then after we paint and prep those rims, it turns into this. Now that video is going to be awesome, so stay tuned for that. And now that you got all the background information, let's begin episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor. So as you guys know, whenever you do a project, whether it's a big project like Project Police Interceptor, or a little project like putting in a light bar, you want to outline what you're doing. So there are 5 main things we're going to be doing for this project. The first thing is going to be installing these red and blue traffic advisors, and also a dash cam. The second thing we're doing is mounting a rear traffic advisor. This sits on the rear deck, just like that. The third thing we're doing is mounting a light bar in the front grille area. The fourth thing we're doing is we're going to mount these mini LEDs right under the bumper, which is going to look awesome. You just wait and see. And the fifth thing we're going to do is we're building a center console to mount all the controls and switches in. I'll go over how to make a center console. You'll see the whole process. But for now, it's going to house our siren box here. That's going to go like somewhere over here. There's going to be switches to control the lights right over here. And then this is going to be a compartment that can hold a gun for transportation to and from the station. All the wires from everything we're wiring up, from the visor light to the rear traffic visor to the front lights to the siren, they're all going to be wired right here. So as we install everything, the wires will end up right here. So that's the importance of having a plan for your build. Trust me, draw it out, think it out, whatever you need to do, it'll make the project go as smooth as possible. Now let's get started. Alright, the first lights we're going to mount are these front visor lights. The reason why these are called visor lights is because these clip right to where the visor meets the headliner. Pretty simple install. Firemen and EMS use these all the time. It's a hideaway type light. The install looks clean, so let's get it in there. Alright, we'll do one visor at a time. We'll get these out of the way. And you can see, it's going to slide right underneath this. So we just need to loosen that up just a little bit. And the same here, there's 3. We loosen that up just a little bit. And then these forks are going to slide in just like that. Alright, so let's loosen these up. And I'm going to have to... Thank you. And the officer is calling me. What are the odds of that? And I'm going to have to call him back. Because we're getting episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor done. So we're going to loosen up these 3 bolts that hold the visor in. Okay, so with these visor bolts loose, we can slide the lights in. Just need to slip these bad boys in there. Alright, and they're in. This side looks great, but the problem is, this side doesn't want to go all the way in, because we have 1, 2, 3 bolts holding it in. And one of the bolts is blocking the fins from sliding in. So I'm going to trim one of the fins so we can slide it in more, and then that should work. And just make sure the end here isn't sharp, because you'll cut the headliner if it is. Let's try this again. Good. Now let's tighten up the visor bolt. Get this nice and snug so it doesn't slide out. Tighten up the other one. That's 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that it's in there good. And this is solid. Now we need to remove that plastic shield that goes on here and protecting this. I'm going to scrape off this sticker too. And we're going to put a little piece of felt right up against the glass. So if it vibrates, it doesn't tap against the glass, it taps against the felt. It'll just make it a lot quieter. And since this is mounted in, we'll take off the screws that bolt into the actual light. Here and here. That's 1 and 2. And this slides right out. I don't know why, but I love peeling this stuff off. Now we have our felt. We gotta peel that sticky backing off and tape it right to the part that's gonna rest against the windshield, just like so. Good. And now we can slide this back in here and screw down the light. Okay. Now I want to make sure that the light sits as tight as possible up against the windshield. So I'm going to loosen up the side screws and push the light up to force it against the glass. So now with this loose, I'm pushing upwards and tightening the screws to hold it in place. That's tight, and that's tight. And that's all it takes. Now this is nice and tight. You can hit the button. It's not going anywhere, and it's mounted flush against the windshield. Now I'm going to fly through the other side because you know how it's done. Just like doing your first brake job. The first side takes some trial and error, and the second side goes a lot faster. All right, with the passenger side and driver's side in, we'll connect the 2 clips and tuck it into the headliner for a nice, clean, wire-free install. Before you know it, look at that. Now that looks good. Those wires tucked in, we come over here, and then we have our long wire that goes to the cigarette lighter. And we want to tuck this in right down here, and run it down all the way to the floor. We're running all our wires to the passenger side floorboard right over here. We'll start by getting it around this A-pillar plastic molding. And basically, we want the wire to be hidden, so slip it behind the plastic and weather stripping, so it's out of sight.
And then
Run it all the way down the door. Take off the plastic trim here and here. We're going to cut the light cigarette lighter adapter because it's not what we're going to be using. Let's pull up the carpet and snake that freshly cut wire under the carpet, across. We'll put that carpet back for now. And there you go. Our first light is done. Alright, so they're wired in. And the reason why we're going to the center for the center console is because you can see right here, these wires coming through here. Well, these wires are from the old center console that was in here. And they're hot wires. There's 12 volts running to them. They didn't do a very good job cutting them and capping them. They should have taped them up, but that's not the point. The point is we're going to run all our wires for all our lights and all of our accessories right here for the center console, and that's how we're going to power them. Since we're still working at the front of the